Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Capera. I am the Director of Parks and Recreation for Middletown Township. I want to thank you for coming out tonight to the Environmentally Speaking series, sponsored by our Environmental Advisory Council. We are so excited tonight to have Jonathan Sprout speaking tonight. So without further ado, I will introduce Jonathan Sprout speaking on net zero living.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks, friends. This is my very second performance as a net zero speaker. I've given 6,600 shows as a children's singer-songwriter. So if I start to talk to you as though you're this tall, you'll forgive me. That's my training. So I have a couple of million sellers. I have 1 million CDs in the cellar. So that's why they're on the chairs. If you have a CD player or if you can find a home for a CD, please take some with you, as well as some of my posters. I'm wearing a lot of hats tonight. Those CDs have nothing to do with this show, but everything to do with me and my passion for the environment. So I'll take you through it, and stop me if you have questions. We'll keep this very casual. And I'll share my journey with you. I'll just read the first part. In the last century, burning fossil fuels has led to the release of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. This has disrupted Earth's energy balance. Our planet's climate is warming, making life for humans more challenging. Since moving to Bryn Gweled Homesteads in Southampton in 2013, I have been on a quest to fight climate change by lowering my personal impact on the environment. I've changed my house, my lifestyle, and property to reduce carbon emissions, to lower my carbon footprint. And I want to share some of the tips that I've come up with. Now, most environmentalists refuse to tell carbon jokes because they want to keep it light. That was my first joke. But I'm so committed to sustainability, I reuse the same bad jokes at every talk. And here's the first one. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Why did the Scarecrow win an award? Does anyone know? A free pencil over there for whoever knows. Dr. Scheer, who has been to my other talk, who probably already knows the answer. He was outstanding in his field. Why was it a net zero award? The Scarecrow left no carbon footprints. All right, I'm testing you guys out. I have a friend who claims his house is completely off the grid. No electricity, no gas, no plumbing. Turns out he forgot to pay the bills. I have a friend who recently told me he's gone carbon negative. Oh, you planted a lot of trees, I said to him. No, he exclaimed, I deleted my social media apps. Now there's a lot less hot air. I have another friend who claims he reached a net zero carbon footprint by living on his couch for 3 years. Well, the easiest way to get to net zero is by doing nothing, but that is not who we are. So let's approach this checklist of constructive things that'll help us lower our carbon footprint as we think globally and act locally. So there are three different categories that I have lumped my net zero approach into: house, lifestyle, and property or land. So first, let's talk about things that I've done with my house. And I suspect that some of you have worked on improving, I know some of you have worked on improving your housing carbon footprint. And I would encourage you to share with me as we're coming up with these ideas. The first thing I recommend we do is get a certified energy efficient assessment. So when I moved into my current home, I hired a guy, and I can't locate him anymore, sadly, 12 years ago. He spent the better part of a day using thermographic and blower door tests to find heat leakage areas. And he came up with a multi-page list of things that he suggested. It took me many, many years to put into play all of what he recommended. The cost 12 years ago was $484. Not cheap, but I highly recommend it if you want to do this thing methodically. First, get a certified energy efficiency assessment. Let me just step aside. What I've given you is a printout. I have, where you can see the colors, links to this on an email. And if I get your email address, I will send you this with all the links so that you'll be able to follow up. I was able to find some current certified energy efficient assessment people and have put them in on the link. So next, make sure all your windows are at least double pane thick. I think I replaced 42 windows in my house that had been single pane. Triple pane windows insulate better, but they're not worth the extra price. They're a lot more expensive, and they're not worth the price. And make sure you have well-insulated walls and ceilings as well. Did you know that Benjamin Franklin once supposedly said, "An ounce of insulation is worth a pound of energy"? He also said, "A penny saved is a penny earned, but a watt saved is a planet spared." That was Benjamin Franklin. Or not. My big three home energy systems. So I have three different ways of heating and cooling my house. Number one is the photovoltaic solar panels. Who here has solar panels? Who has solar panels? And Bill, aren't you getting some at your house or no? Maybe? After the talk tonight, you'll be inspired. And we are getting some at Fallsington meeting, Quaker meeting. Put them on your roof, but if possible, the yard is good also. So I had a company called Exact Solar. They're based in Newtown. Talk to me on the phone. They pulled up my house address, and using a Google map, they were able to tell me if I was a good candidate for solar panels. And they then decided it was, so they came out, they did what they call a shade analysis, and it didn't cost me a cent. And they determined that I do have a sunny roof, and so they gave me some options to come up with panels. And I went for it. There used to be a 30% federal tax credit available. That is drying up the end of December this year. So it's too late to take advantage of that now if you haven't already negotiated with a solar installer. But regarding my panels, in 8 years, they've generated 71 megawatt hours. And environmentally, this equates to planting 835 trees. It's generated 110,000 pounds of CO2 emissions saved. And in 12 and a half years, the panels will pay for themselves. The guarantee lasts for 25 years, and of course, after 25 years, they're not going to break. They just aren't as efficient over time. I believe they degrade less than 1% per year. So they still work, they just won't be as efficient in 25 years. These solar panels are amazing, and I haven't paid a penny to PECO since I had them installed. And in fact, PECO pays me hundreds of dollars a year because my panels put more electricity into the grid than I take from the grid. Now, how many of you know about SRECs, Solar Renewable Energy Credits? These are amazing things that we get reimbursed. Every time our panels generate a megawatt, we get an SREC. And in Pennsylvania, an SREC is worth roughly $35. New Jersey, it's $85. Last time I checked, Massachusetts was $200, and Washington, D.C. was $400. So the SREC pricing apparently is determined by state politicians. We have a state that generates a lot of carbon, and we have an industry that I believe is discouraging the use of solar power. So that's why our SRECs are cheap in Pennsylvania. That's my understanding. Something good to lobby with politicians for. But regarding my panels, again, the 71 solar renewable energy credits have generated an additional $2,485 directly posited in my checking account. And the financial return on my panels, which cost me 8 years ago $17,500, is an 8% return on my investment. That is stunning to me. Anytime you can buy anything, a stock, a certificate of deposit, anything from which you get 8%, you're making, in my opinion, a very good investment. Question, comment? It's 8% overall after the 12 and a half year, after the 25 years. Am I right, Bill?
I believe that's annualized.
Annualized?
Like a bond that pays 8%.
Like a bond that pays 8%. Yeah, yeah. So who's going to argue with that? So even if you're here in the room and you don't care about lowering carbon offsets and you just want to make some money, you should consider solar panels. The fact that they do so much for the environment in addition is pretty amazing. Even though Mark Twain apparently wasn't much of, he supposedly said, modern man will cross an ocean to save a whale, but won't cross the street to turn off a porch light. Mark Twain. These are all sort of mock, you know. And here's another one from, well, you tell me. Who said this? The future ain't what it used to be. It's got solar panels now. Yogi Berra. Give that woman a pencil. All right, solar panels. Any questions before we move on from solar panels?
How many solar panels do you have?
26 panels. They're not even attached to my roof. They're on bricks, on weights, on my flat roof at a 15% angle. And they're hurricane resistant. Great investment. Yes?
Sorry, I came a little late there. Can you tell us how much was the cost to install those solar panels?
How much would it cost to buy them now? Well, good question. I just bought some for Jennifer's house last August with Exact Solar. About the same. I think it's about the same price. I think I didn't get the 30% federal tax credit for her because that last August they were already booked through December, so they weren't able to offer that. They promised us probably February, the panels will go up this coming February. But it was a $25,000 purchase. And the panels which was about what I paid before the 30% federal tax credit 8 years ago. But the panels now are much more efficient than they were. The technology has advanced a lot in 8 years. I can't give you the exact number, but every year the efficiency of solar panels increases significantly. Comment? Yes. Say it again.
To do your roof was 17, or somebody else was 25. What is each panel worth? Because we may not have as big a roof.
Exactly. The question is, how much do you pay per panel? $800-ish? $600 per panel? You have to get the wiring too. So you're going to pay for that no matter how many panels you get. You have to get what they call the inverter, the boxes. So it's not just $600 to get a panel. But you don't have to get 26 panels. And you don't have to get panels that equal your consumption of electricity. You can get panels that equal 25% of your consumption of electricity, and they're still a good investment. Square footage. 6 square feet per panel.
And about 400 watts from one panel.
400 watts per panel, 6 square feet per panel.
In terms of like the size of the house, so if you had a, let's say a 2,000 square foot house, would 26 panels cover that? Just get a sense.
It depends on your house. It depends on, you want to have them face south. You don't want to put them on a north side roof. It's not even worth it. Has to be on a south-facing roof, and if it doesn't have to be fully in the sunlight. Mine has shade at certain times of the day, but it was still financially feasible to put them up. But it has to be the south side of the house. You can put them on the lawn, too. You can put them on land. Yes? Bill McKibben.
Bill McKibben has a new book out called Here Comes the Sun, and it's all about solar worldwide, and it is fascinating.
Bill McKibben, one of my heroes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, solar is just, photovoltaics are amazing. I'm baffled that they're not more in use than they are. I'm really baffled. I was baffled 8 years ago, and I just get more and more baffled. I mean, you need capital. You need to have money. But how many people here own stock? You know, if you own stock, you could own solar panels. It's baffling. I mean, Paul, do we have them on this roof? We should.
We do not. We have a leaky roof. If you look above you right now, you see that leak?
Yeah.
We're not a good candidate until we fix the roof.
All right, there you go. Fix the roof and then put up the panels.
Correct.
But this is 100% sun up here.
Correct.
Ain't no shade. I mean, and every Walmart and Costco and every elementary school, why aren't these roofs full of solar panels?
And warehouses.
And warehouses. Why aren't they? Here's a question or comment.
It's just about the question about what size house. I have solar panels on my house. It's roughly 2,500 square feet of house, of living space. I've got 50 panels.
50.
50 panels. Like you, I have not paid a PICO bill in years and years. But my excess is so significant, I charge 2 electric cars and still have an excess that I send to the grid.
Are you boasting?
Yes.
You charge 2 electric cars and you still put electricity into the grid? Wow, that's great. That's great. Marion.
Jonathan, when you talk about the capital that you need to buy these, there's a company that is going around Levittown and offering a different kind of deal. and it is that they install them for free, and the deal is that they get half of the credits.
Yeah, don't do that.
You don't do that?
No, I'm not a big fan of that. In other words, they kind of lease your roof. It doesn't cost you anything, but they get all the profits, or half of them,
Well,
or
half.
most of them.
Half.
I don't, maybe that's just the capitalist in me. I'd rather, there's not much risk. What's going to happen to them? Nothing breaks. There are no moving parts. They're not going to break.
But for people who don't have the capital,
If you don't have capital and a company, I don't know. I still have heard, I don't want to get into too many details, but I had a couple people who said to me they'd gotten through the process of talking with them, and then the company wanted their bank account numbers, and they got nervous. Now, does that mean the company was illicit? No, but it required some trust that this person wasn't willing to extend. Anyway, let's push on. We got other stuff to do too. So, solar panels, and I'm going to stick around and we can answer questions and talk later too if you want. So remember, my home, net zero, 3 different systems going on. Solar is one. The second is I installed 6 different ductless mini splits. We have ducts here. I don't know whether these are heat pump driven or not, but the ones that I have in my home, I have a ductless home. You know what I mean by that. Most homes have ducts where the heating and the cooling goes. And you can get efficient heat pumps that are connected to them, or you can just get something that sticks in the wall, and there's a compressor on the outside, and the thing will heat and cool and dehumidify. And what I have is, they're super efficient. They work very whisper quiet. And the modern ones will heat in the winter when the temperature is as low as minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit. This is amazing. These are amazing machines that do not generate heat by resistance. The way, if you plug in a thing that turns red and it's got coils, that's resistant heating. And that is relatively inefficient. These things somehow find the electrons that are outside at minus 15 degrees that are warm and put them inside. Now that's a very simplistic way of explaining it, but that's essentially what they do. And they do it miraculously, as far as I'm concerned. I'm a songwriter, right? So to me, it's a miracle. And they do it with low cost. Now you pay about $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per, but they pay for themselves over time. And there are rebates. And again, I have provided a link for rebates in this. So the mini splits are remarkable. The third system that I use for heating in my house is a wood-burning stove. Wood fires do emit smoke, but wood is a renewable energy. And all the wood that I burn is wood from trees that were already dead in my community. Now, I mentioned Bryn Gweled, and I have information about this community where I live. It's in Southampton. We all have 2 acres of land. We have 90 acres of wooded land. And there are enough dead trees that we can harvest that wood, and a number of us heat with wood stoves that keep our houses warm without having to buy any wood. I bought my stove from E&E Chimney Sweeps in Fairless Hills. But I know a lot of people use Newtown Fireplace Shop. I have links to those. Does anybody here who has a fireplace? A fireplace or a stove? Who has a stove or an insert? Wood stove or an insert? Okay. So I had a fireplace when I bought my house, and it didn't work. It was a 3-sided fireplace, and I lit a fire, and then somebody opened the door to the outside, and all the smoke started going in the house. I said, this isn't going to work. So I bought a wood stove that was inserted in the fireplace, and that's what I use. And if you have a fireplace, you can get what's called an insert, which is like a wood stove, but it's inside the fireplace, and it's energy efficient. So I will just mention that I know a couple people who have an even more efficient heating system with wood, and they use a pellet stove. How many of you are familiar with pellet stoves? Evidently, they burn so clean that you don't even need a chimney. That's remarkable to me. And the pellets feed down, they drip down in, so you can feed the hopper and then go away for a long time, like 24 hours or 12 hours. My stove usually burns cold after 8 hours. Pellet stoves last a lot longer. And you can get the pellets at Home Depot, Lowe's, and a number of other places. Why did the mud pie refuse to go for a walk? Why did the mud pie refuse to go for a walk? Now keep in mind, I'm the low carbon footprint expert here, joke expert. Didn't want to leave any heavy carbon footprints. Okay, that was one laugh. Okay. All right. So, so the pellet stove is another option. And the wood takes a lot back. And I have a hydraulic wood splitter, and I have 3 different chainsaws. And some people think I'm, you know, why can't I do other things in my life? Well, I'm always splitting or chainsawing firewood. At my age now, I'd probably get a pellet stove, long story short, if I had to get a new stove. So I live in a house that has a well and a septic system. Just a couple words about that. I used to think, oh, that's not good. Wells can run dry, septic systems can get clogged and have to be replaced. To replace a septic system can cost $20,000, $30,000. So when I bought my house, I thought, oh, well, that's one of the minuses. Now I think that's one of the pluses. The only cost I've had with my well and septic system is the well produces water that is a little bit more acidic. I don't mind it, but my copper pipes tend to spring leaks, paper-thin leaks. And so I had to get an acid neutralizer. It's a gizmo that puts salt, basically, salt particles in the well water to neutralize the acidity of the water so that my pipes are happy. That was a $2,000 purchase. What did I come up with here? The number, the average annual water and sewer prices in Pennsylvania for a normal house with municipal water and sewer, $1,100. You don't have any of that if you have a well and a septic system. In Southampton, we have to get our septic system pumped every 3 years. What's it cost, Teresa? $350 every 3 years? It's not much. So if you ever have an opportunity to move into a house with a well and a septic system, please don't consider it a negative. That's all. That's my big point. I have a really good water filter system under the sink. And it's a 5-filter reverse osmosis APEC water filter system. It's listed here with the link. You can get it on Amazon for $265. A plumber can put it in. Probably half of you could do it yourselves. I needed a plumber. Every year I pay $50 for filters. And this thing is pure hydrogen and oxygen. No plastics, no PFAS. And it improves the purity of drinking water coffee, tea, smoothies. Which reminds me about another joke. Why did the environmentalists take a digestive aid pill after eating a can of beans? Why did the environmentalist take a digestive aid pill after eating a can of beans? Didn't want to produce methane gas. You're onto it. He wanted to achieve net zero emissions. All right, they're laughing now. This is good. I might hang up my guitar. Okay, one more tip. Grow indoor potted ferns. Anybody have indoor potted ferns? My wood stove dries out my house. The ferns are great for hydrating and cleaning the air. I have these ferns I've had for 45 years. And they take a gallon of water a day in the winter. And I don't need to put a pot on the wood stove as a result. I use an EcoTank printer. So I'm the go-to guy if you need something printed out. You are reading the work of my Epson ET4800. Remember those, how many of you have those cartridge printers? You pay, the printer is cheap, but the cartridges are an arm and a leg. If you buy an EcoTank, you can print all you want. Rain barrels. Anybody have any rain barrels? Yeah, I have a couple for backup water supply. Now, since I have a well, if I lose electricity, I have no water because the electricity runs the well pump. You guys, if you have municipal water, you get it when the electricity goes out. If you have a well, you don't have water when the electricity goes out. Unless you have a backup system, which I have, and I've never had to use. So that's another conversation. But the rain barrels help me for flushing toilets if I need to, or watering plants. And I have this little system set up with outdoor plants. I have a rain barrel with a hose that runs to the plants, and I stuck holes in the hose, and it waters the plants that are under a roof that the rain doesn't get to. You can't use a soaker hose with a rain barrel. Rain barrel, water pressure doesn't create enough pressure to push water out of a soaker hose. It was Yogi Berra who once said, "You can't hit net zero if you keep swinging with fossil bats." I haven't forgotten how to play guitar and sing, so that's all good. If you heat with oil or gas, switch to heating with electricity and buy green renewable energy from your electric provider. How many of you get green renewable energy? It's a little bit more expensive. I think normally you're going to pay like 9 or 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Green energy is 15. But it's better for the planet, and you can sleep better. Okay, so that finishes out the home. Let's talk about lifestyle. Barbara, we have a sheet for you. Lifestyle. Buy an electric power meter and check to see how much electricity your appliances are using. Again, when you get the email version of this, you can click the link and see what I'm talking about. It's just a little thing that you plug in. You plug your appliances into it, and then you plug it into the wall, and it tells you how much electricity each of your appliances is using. I recently had somebody come and install all kinds of electric gadgets on my appliances. They were doing testing, and I was just one of hundreds of people they were testing. They got the results back, and they said that one of the most alarming things they discovered was that a lot of people don't properly close their refrigerator doors. So be careful about that. make sure the seal is closed. For some reason, people just don't pay attention. Close the door. Another big lifestyle thing is engaging in a plant-based diet when possible. So just today, just this morning, the Washington Post published an article about carbon hoof prints. I'd never heard of a hoof print before, in which they assessed not only meat, which is very inefficient carbon-wise, but where it's eaten. And there are certain cities and regions of the country where if you eat a steak, you're using up a lot more carbon than if you eat it somewhere else. And it has to do with the way the beef is grown, whether it's on a food lot or out in a pasture. It has to do with how far it had to get transported, how the beef were fed, how they were butchered, all the energy involved in the whole thing. And I was stunned to learn that the average American eats 5 portions of beef every week. I eat 5 every quarter. And partly it's because I discovered Beyond Meat burgers, which I know are processed, but they're vegetarian. And they taste really good. So plant-based diets use much less carbon. Eating beef in the Delaware Valley, according to the Washington Post, requires slightly less carbon emission and energy than the national average. So you're allowed to have a hamburger in the Philadelphia region once in a while. The aim is to go for lab-grown steak served with guilt-free gravy. Just be aware that if you try complimenting the chef, you might learn that he's a printer. They print. Anyway, we'll see how this stuff develops. Here's another factor. Eat your leftovers. How many people... I have people in my family who throw out leftovers, and it drives me nuts. How many people love leftovers? All right, you're in the right crowd. How many people have like a 3-day rule or a 5-day rule? I used to have a 7-day rule, and then I got convinced it should be 5, sometimes 3. It depends on if it's fish, right, or beans or whatever you can. Anyway, eating leftovers. Perhaps you're aware, 40% of the food produced in America is wasted. 40% of the food produced in America is wasted. Here's a Mark Twain quote. "When I was younger, I could remember anything, whether it happened or not. Now, I can't even remember to bring my reusable grocery bag with me when I shop." You ever have that problem? Leaving your reusable grocery bag in the car? Mark Twain had the same problem. So lately, I've been working with the Warminster Food Bank, and there's one in Wrightstown also. I don't know which one would be closer to this building, but they are great at, what's that? Say it again. Pendle has one? Okay. So does Langhorne has a food bank. I did not know. Okay, good, good. Food banks are wonderful places, and they often will take, whatever you don't want to eat, as long as it's pass-onable. You know what I'm saying. I understand the fashion industry is making great advances in food science and technology. Have you heard about this? Clothing may soon be woven from algae and seaweed. we'll all have to get used to being followed around by hungry ducks. No, but that's sort of a joke, but it's sort of true. How many of you have heard of Philabundance? Yeah, this is what I love about them. They're able to turn a donation of 50 cents into a meal. You're basically paying for the truck to pick up food from a source that would otherwise throw it out and then pass it on. Philabundance, great source of passing on food. Don't replace, repair, run your stuff into the ground, especially cars, lawn mowers, and appliances. Don't replace, repair. Ever heard of something called Free Cycle? We have that in Bryn Gwylyd, once a month in Bryn Gwylyd. We put out tables in the community center and give away stuff that we no longer want. It's a flea market without the money. The remaining items are donated to a local thrift store. You could create a monthly free cycle in your community. Paul, is that something that has ever been done in this area that you know of, where people just bring in what they don't want, but they don't want to throw it out? Others come in, take, give. It's like a little library, a little free library, but it's other stuff.
Not to my knowledge. What they do is a lot of realtors in the area will pick a neighborhood, and then they will have a neighborhood yard sale so the neighbors can get rid of their stuff, and it's basically a very compact shopping experience.
Yeah, I like that. Reusing whenever possible. So there's a highly rated Salvation Army thrift store nearby. And again, there are links to each of these places to the actual stores. There's one in Fairless Hills, shop for furniture and housewares at Good Stuff Thrift. Anybody been to Good Stuff Thrift? You people are my kind of people. Locations in Fairless Hills, Huntington Valley, Buckingham, Doylestown. Very cool stuff here. You can shop for shoes and clothing at Goodwill. There are 10 stores in the Philly and Bucks region. In the winter, wear lots of layers and turn the thermostat down. I like Under Armour thermal shirts. In the summer, simply dehumidify. So that's what I do with my mini splits. I don't actually air condition in my house. I dehumidify. I take the humidity out, and that makes the house so that you don't have to make it so cold to be comfortable. Don't drive when you can walk, bicycle, or use public transportation. Trains are most efficient per passenger mile, then airplanes per passenger mile, then cars, then transit buses, then Uber Lyft vehicles. Per passenger mile. Yeah, that was a surprise to me. Trains are first, then airplanes, then cars, then transit buses, then Uber Lyft vehicles. That was my research. How many of you have a free SEPTA rail pass? You have to be 65, but I got one. So you can travel any SEPTA rail for free. And this is how you do it. I don't know who, Kristen Marcel is not the representative, the state representative here. Is she, Paul? Do you know?
Joe Hogan.
Who?
Joe
Hogan. Okay. So you go to Joe Hogan's office. In my Southampton, we go to Kristen Marcel's. And you spend 10 minutes, they take a picture, and then 2 weeks later, you get your pass mailed to you.
You can do it. You can get a pass at Fitzpatrick's office also.
At where?
Fitzpatrick.
Brian Fitzpatrick's federal congressman. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So a little bit about EVs. And you people have EV charging spots. This is the cool thing right here. You've got a couple of the standard ones, and then So you have 3 levels, Paul tells me. You have the 110 volt, which are back here, which is like a 3-pronged outlet.
So the high speed are in the back. So
Okay.
that's the level. I messed up the levels before. So that's the high speed in the back. Like you just plug them in an hour or two, you'll be charged. And then out front, we have the level 2, which are the 220.
240.
240. So,
Yeah.
and we have no plugins.
No what?
No 110 plug-in
Okay.
rechargers.
Okay, you don't. Okay. So, yeah, I have a Prius plug-in, hybrid plug-in, and I love this car. In 54,000 miles of driving over, 7 years, I've averaged 116 miles per gallon. So, how many of you have a plug-in vehicle? Once you get one, it's hard to go back, isn't it? I can't imagine ever getting a gas-powered. There's so many great reasons. There's almost no maintenance you have to do. And they're not that expensive. So you can get a 2026 Prius plug-in model for $33,000, $34,000. And the first 44 miles are all electric. When I bought mine in 2018, it was the first 30 miles that were all electric. Now they have the battery worked out so that you can go 44 miles. You can qualify for savings up to $4,600, inclusive of vehicle tax credits. Compared to a gas-only car, over 5 years of driving, a Prius plug-in could keep 40,700 pounds of CO2 out of the atmosphere. And if you have range anxiety, this Prius that I have gets 600 miles from the hybrid gas and 30 miles from the electric. So 630 miles on a full tank of gas and a full charge. LED bulbs. My house is full of LED bulbs. So I have some stuff. How many of you know you can get chandelier LED bulbs? Pass that around, please. And of course, these things. They're more expensive, but they're much more efficient. LEDs are 4 times more expensive, but they last 50 times longer. I prefer the warm to the daylight. They have 2 different settings, actually multiple settings. The warm ones are less blinding. And they use 80% less energy. And in the summer, it's important to note, they burn cooler. Apparently a regular light bulb gives off more heat than light. Don't use an LED in your clothes dryer or your oven. They don't like excess heat. Question? I'm sorry, Gail, a little louder.
The LED, like, are there any special considerations anymore for the disposal?
Disposal of LEDs. That's a good question. Who can answer that? How do you dispose an LED? Bill? I'm hearing that there's no special disposable.
Speaking off the cuff, I think there's no special disposal issues with LED bulbs because an LED is a piece of silicon, which is glass.
Little closer.
An LED, the part that makes the light, is silicon. So it's basically a piece of glass with a little bit of dopant in it.
Okay.
So it's just glass and metal like the old bulbs where there's no special. When we had the compact fluorescents,
Yeah.
those contained mercury.
The CFLs, those were the curly ones, right?
The curly bulbs had
Yeah.
a disposal issue, but that, in my opinion, has gone away.
So, no special is the answer. Who said this? An LED in time saves 9. Benjamin Franklin. I read it in Poor Richard's Almanac. So consider, if you subscribe to a hard copy newspaper or magazine, consider switching to a digital subscription. If you go through a lot of batteries, buy rechargeable batteries. There's an 8-pack that I use for AA batteries. And again, the link would take you to what it looks like. We have our styrofoam lady here. Teresa's our styrofoam lady in the community where I live. You can save styrofoam to recycle at the Delaware Solid Waste Authority. And if you get it to Teresa, she'll take it. Barbara's helping too. All right, these are the recycle people, the styrofoam. Because we've had problems recycling styrofoam. First, we had somebody in Philadelphia who used to take it, and then they said, nah, they don't want it. Then we had to throw it out, but now there's this place we can recycle it. But you have to go all the way to Delaware. But there's a place locally? Well, then, I'm going to add that to my list then. Okay. Recycle your rechargeable and single-use batteries and cell phones for free at Staples, Home Depot, and Lowe's. Apparently, they eventually ship everything to a place in Georgia called Call to Recycle. This place in Georgia gets everything from all over the country. And it's the country's largest, most reliable battery recycling program. So that's where it goes. So don't throw this stuff out. Batteries, cell phones, take it to Staples or Home Depot, wherever. How many of you know about, I know some of you do, recycling canceled commemorative stamps? This is the coolest thing. A stamp costs what, 75 cents, give or take? Well, save the stamp. And there's a company called, or a charity called Right Sharing of World Resources. You send them the stamp, and they find a buyer on the world market to buy it for sometimes, I don't know, 20, on the average 20 cents a stamp. And they've made tens of thousands of dollars selling canceled stamps. And this charity is an amazing charity. I happen to donate monthly to them. There's information I've written out about them. They send all the money to women's groups in Guatemala, India, Kenya, Sierra Leone, where the women receive business, finance, and leadership training. I've met some of the people who work with Right Sharing. They're the real deal. And they are an independent, not-for-profit organization. So don't throw out your canceled stamps. Save them. Mail them to me, and I'll get them to the right place. We usually get a box of them and then ship them out to this Right Sharing, which is in Indianapolis. And then they find a home for the stamps. Here's another suggestion. When you shop online, wait until your online cart is hefty. Opt for delivery and fewer trips. So why are carbon footprints and hiking boots inseparable? Why are carbon footprints and hiking boots inseparable? You're trying. That's my kind of guy. hiking boots and carbon footprints are inseparable because they're soul mates. I mean, I made this stuff up. You can make it up. You can make it up. Okay, so here's another thing I do. I use glass water bottles. I'm going to pass this around. This is actually from Costco. It's kombucha. I buy the kombucha, I drink the kombucha, I save the water bottle. You know, you don't want plastic in your brain, right? You know, all about, everybody knows about microplastics, and these things go through the dishwasher very well. And I recommend these bottles. I have a link here to the Costco kombucha, but don't buy it online. It's much more expensive than if you just buy it at a store. Work your windows. How many people here work their windows? Do you know what I mean by working the windows? I was doing it today. I was working my windows today. Open your windows to cool down your home at night in the summers and to warm up your home in the daytime. How many people looked? I do this. Look at the temperature readings for the day. Decide when to open the windows, when to close them. I'm always working my windows. It's a game. It's a game. But it saves energy. How many have ever used a metal straw? Pass it around. Metal straws. It's the same problem as the supermarket reusable bags. I keep forgetting to bring them to the restaurant. But you can get these metal straws and not use paper straws. Cold brew coffee. How many people here drink coffee? How many drink cold brew coffee? I love this stuff, and it's a recent lifestyle change for me. Cold brew coffee uses much less energy. You basically grind up the beans and you soak them in water. I do it overnight. And then the next day I filter, and there's the coffee. If you like it hot, you can microwave it. I like it cold. It's much less bitter than heated coffee. It's, to me, much tastier. And it uses no energy. And you can do the same thing with tea, sun tea. You don't need to heat water to make tea. Now, my British friends think I'm nuts to say this, but soak tea bags in a pitcher of water for a day. If you put it out in direct sunlight, it's gonna, you know, you're gonna get more tea, but you don't need to. You can just soak it in a closet and it'll still work. You don't need heat. How many people turn down the setting on their hot water heater? How many have done that? Play with it so that it's hot enough for a shower but not too hot. And I always turn off my hot water heater when I go away for 2 or more days. Anybody here know why a heavy carbon footprint is so influential? Why is a heavy carbon footprint so influential? It leaves a lasting impression. How about the freezer and refrigerator? Turn down the cold setting. Play with it until you get cold or frozen the right amount. How many people have a water-reducing nozzle for your shower? Try it. Or you could just take cold showers. Clothing wash, cold cycle only. I'm told, am I right? You don't need hot water cycle for clothing. Cold is fine. Again, that saves energy. You can hang dry your laundry. I had this in a previous house. I don't do it in my current house because my clothing dryer has a vent that I can't get access to. But I used to take the vent and I would put a nylon stocking over it and keep it in the house in the winter. So I would get moist, warm air from my dryer. That's what you want in a house. But people said, you got to be careful. It might catch fire. So if you're going to do that, you got to clean it out a lot. So I'm hesitatingly reluctantly recommending that. This is something I learned about recently. Eco Sheet laundry detergent. How many of you know about that? Not the liquid or not the pellets, but the Eco Sheet. You can buy that in supermarkets now instead of liquid or powder detergent. That uses less, you don't have a big plastic container you end up with. Comment, question?
I tried them. I don't know what brand I bought, but they did not dissolve. So I started making my own detergent. And that's a process, and practiced a lot with that. I just don't.
So wait, you make your own detergent?
Well, you can out of there's several steps. You can buy a couple of products that last you a long time.
Wow.
And you combine them and add water, and you can make your own liquid detergent. There's all kinds of recipes online.
I love
But
it.
anyway, the sheets, I love the idea. The brand I bought did not dissolve, and they were just goo on my clothes. So,
I just want to say that there are brands that dissolve.
okay. The
There
one
are
I
what,
had
Gail?
did not do it, but okay.
There are brands that dissolve. I'm never sure. It says, and sometimes it says for like a big load, put 2 sheets in, and it seems to me like it's so little that I wonder if it's getting the clothing clean. But it's remarkable how they put it all in that little sheet. Gail?
So, like, a couple ways that it saves on the environment is that instead of having the water mixed in with the soap and then having all that weight and then transporting all that weight and using all that big plastic, they just took the water out of it and have the soap left. And so then you add the water, you know, with the washing machine, and then it reconstitutes into laundry detergent.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. But I think it's Eco Breeze that I was getting online, and they're really good companies that, you know, for every one that you buy, they donate like a half to homeless shelters and other countries. So there's a lot of good things being done
Yeah,
in that industry. You just kind of have to find a good brand.
yeah, good. Question or comment up here? Yeah.
You don't want to hear this. But Consumer Reports doesn't recommend those sheets.
Why?
I guess they don't get the clothes clean. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, I want to read what Consumer
Yeah,
So wait,
you can go
Consumer
online.
Reports does not recommend,
The sheet, the detergent
Interesting.
sheets. Yep.
have they looked at enough of them, or is it just one particular brand, or
I don't know.
we don't know?
Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
And
Well,
maybe
is-
they've changed their mind since I originally read it, but
Yeah.
they were not recommending them.
Okay. Well, you got to make your own. I love that. Want to go into business together? No, no. We're busy enough, aren't we? Yeah. I also reuse inkjet paper. My father was a math teacher. He always came home with these mimeograph sheets, and we would, you know, use the other side for something. That's what I always do. I reuse other sides. Did you know that there are cotton swabs you can buy that are made from wood, not plastic? I have a link to it here. Use those. How about eggs? Reusable cartons. Buy from locals who own chickens. That reminds me. Do you know why low carbon footprints are terrible at dancing the Bristol Stomp? They tread too lightly. Okay, well, this is somewhat funny. I think some of it you're going to wake up tonight and start laughing. Yeah. So I live in this community, Bryn Gweled, where we have a lot of egg-laying chickens, and you could get your own chickens. That would be an energy-efficient thing to do if you have enough time and space. And I just have some information on that here. I do not have chickens.
Not in Middletown Township.
You're not allowed? Seriously? Wow. How about that? I did not know that. Why? Too many cock-a-doodle-doos or something? A sound? Is it a sound thing?
It's the hygiene of the general area, so you got house upon house, so it's just rough.
All right, there you go. Moving right along. Hey, how many, I learned about this when I gave my last talk. How many here know about a store in Yardley called the Refillery Store? I had never heard of this, the Refillery Store. Yeah. Yeah. The Refillery Store. So I just kind of wandered in and looked. So but you go in with your container, right? And then you buy, what, laundry detergent or whatever, and they weigh it. Here comes the mic, sorry.
So it's a BYOC, bring your own container, or you can buy them there, of course. When you put it on, there's a weight scale, you put it on, and there's a little RFID chip, and you scan it and hook it to your device, and then you go fill up whatever you want. They have a lot of household cleaning products, soaps, moisturizers, bar soap for your hair, as well as they've gotten a lot of spices and dried food like beans, grains, that type of stuff, and coffee. They have really good coffee that I hot brew, not cold brew.
Nice, nice. The Refillery Store, I love that idea. How many people have a garden or grow food? That's another good way to lower one's carbon footprint. Speaking of which, Barbara emailed me before the presentation and she said, "Are you going to have low carbon food at the talk?" Now, I'm told that if you eat a piece of celery, you actually lose calories. Is that right, Barbara? This has no calories. So if you eat it, you're using up calories. So if you don't mind, have a piece of celery. Taste it down with a V8 juice. 60 calories. I don't use my big oven very much at all. I use my microwave or small convection oven. Air fryer. Exactly. You know about microplastics and microwave. Don't microwave in a plastic container like that plastic container. Pick your own food. We love Steyer Orchards in Langhorne for apples and peaches, and Soulberry Orchards in New Hope for blueberries and apples. I'm shamelessly, advertising all these different places, but just what I do. And some of you I know buy at locally grown sources. There are several farm stores right here in Bucks County, and I have links to them all. I love to cook on my wood-burning stove in the winter. I use canvas reusable bags for shopping, the kind that Mark Twain always forgets to use. Do you know what is a carbon footprint's favorite sport? Footprint ball. Yay, birds. All right. The third section now, land. House, lifestyle, land. How many of you actually have land? If you're in an apartment, you don't have much. So my first suggestion is to mow grass with a manual push mower, especially if you wear a Fitbit and need to get in 10,000 steps. This link goes to a $100 manual push mower that people swear by. It's not that hard. If you can't do it once every 6 months, you have to do it regularly. But I happen to co-own a Cub Cadet riding mower. It's all electric. It's not cheap, it was about $4,000, but it requires almost no maintenance, and I mow with that. And I mow less often. I don't own a putting green. So don't fall into the landscaper's trap of having your lawn mowed every week. I'm sorry if you're a landscaper, I don't mean to take away from your business, but I mow about once every 3 weeks, and so far my neighbors have not complained. Make meadows. This is one of my passions. So we have a neighbor who planted, he cleared, bought meadow seed and planted it and grew a meadow. I make a meadow by ignoring it. I just don't mow a certain area and I let nature take over. And it's remarkable what has indeed grown. Wildlife thrives. You could put up a no-mow sign and let your neighbors know that you're not a slacker. You're a serious, intentional meadow maker. All right, let's get to the end of all this. I've been talking a long time. Planting trees is a great way. I love trees. If you know me, you know that I often sign my emails, yours, Treely. Do you know about the Keystone 10 Million Tree Partnership? You can get free trees through the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, through the Bucks County Conservation District, and plant them as long as they're in the state of Pennsylvania. John Lopasansky, right here, turned me on to them 5 or 6 years ago, and I've since, with John's assistant, overseen the planting of over 800 free trees with tubes and stakes. So I can get you pointed into that too if you're interested in knowing more about trees. Let's see, I'm going to move quickly here. If you have tree work done, save the wood. The wood chips can be turned into mulch. Composting is a beautiful thing, and I recommend it highly, and I have a link to a composter here. It was Benjamin Franklin who said, "Fish and visitors and compost smell after 3 days." Didn't he? Didn't he say that? Compost? Yeah. Okay, so I've also listed some supporting organizations that are very good at lowering carbon footprint at the end. Citizens Climate Lobby, Too Good to Go. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Too Good to Go. How many of you know about Too Good to Go? It's an app you can get on your phone. They will put you in touch with a restaurant or a food source with perfectly good food that they're about to throw out, and they'll sell it to you dirt cheap. And I've been rescuing food that way and giving it to actually the Warminster Food Bank and other places. Too Good to Go. Great app to get on your phone. Yeah. You can do it the night before or the day of. There's one restriction. You need to go pick it up within a certain time limit. If you go to a Manhattan Bagels, it's usually between 2 and 3 o'clock. They close at 3, so you pick it up at the end of the day. But you buy it on your phone through Apple Pay. It's just a click here, a click there, and it's about a third of the price that you would normally pay. And it's great food. You don't get a choice. They give you this surprise bag, and it's been great. Okay, what else? The Old Growth Forest Network are great people, and they help to work to preserve what used to be called virgin forests, old growth forests. And the Sierra Club. I've worked with the Sierra Club creating a video, and I have a link here to that. Which musical instrument has the lowest carbon footprint? Clarinet, guitar? What? Bass? Air guitar. They finally laughed, Paul. Okay. I think I'm going to wrap it up and just say, let's go. No, I have to do this. If it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. You've heard that, right? Better yet, use the great outdoors, but don't get arrested. And this is true if you're in Singapore, always flush to avoid a $112 fine, John, in Singapore. The things we learn when we do research. As Yogi Berra once said, if we don't get to net zero soon, we'll end up somewhere else. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions before you go?
He put his money on solar as the future of energy when it can be harnessed.
Did Thomas Edison
Thomas
say?
Edison was attributed to a quote, I put my money on solar when it can be harnessed as the future of money, something along those lines.
Yes, he created an electric car in, I believe, 1876. And I think he did say that.
Okay.
And Abraham Lincoln thought that wind energy was amazing. He was a big advocate of wind energy.
Didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I have a question about the heat pumps. So if you put in a heat pump, I'm told they will use more electric. Do you have any sense, because you have solar, so you're net zero, because you're creating your own electric to fuel the heat pump. If you don't have solar in place, do you have any sense of how that would affect your electric bill? And the other aspect of this is, do you know anything about community solar, where you can essentially buy into a community solar field?
So a heat pump does not use a lot of electricity. No, they're energy efficient.
Okay.
Bill. Bill is an engineer. He could probably talk about this for a long time.
For a long time, yeah. Right, so long story short, well, okay, anecdote. I converted from oil heat to heat pump, a pretty efficient modern heat pump.
I can't hear you.
Not a ductless, but the same type DC inverter drive, a modern efficient heat pump. And my season cost for heating was reduced by half. So the heat pump is much cheaper. I would say one caution is that if your air conditioning vents are above, it's hard to get the heat down to the floor. So if you have a really drafty house where cold air is pouring in and coming up from the floor, and the heat is not coming from the floor, it's going to feel cold. So you do want to insulate an air seal. You're just going to save more money by doing that because your total heat load is going to be reduced. And probably ceiling fans, reversible ceiling fans that can keep the air moving. But yeah, I'm setting the thermostat to the same number, and it costs half as much.
So I've run late here, so I should say, class dismissed. If you want to stick around and ask questions, please do. Sir, what is your name? Yes. Stephen, because you laughed the hardest, I have, at my jokes, I have a special pair of Jonathan Sprout sunglasses for you.
So thank you very much. Let's
Thank
hear it for Jonathan Sprout, everybody.
Paul.
Thank you for coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out. As we said, Jonathan will hang around for a little bit and answer all your questions. There's a bunch of free stuff all around. If you want to grab another handout, they're right here. But thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it.